Hello, this is Mixers Rock. This is part 5 of our bad tierlist, which means moving to the songs that start with the letter E. Starting off with the Eastern Blue Tongue Skink, the exhibit animal of the Australia pack. It's a bit of an odd choice when it comes to Australian lizards, who most people wanting the frilled lizards, which is iconic. And these are because the common blue-tailed skinks in general, they are very common in captivity and are commonly kept as pets. But when it comes to Australian lizards, well, I find the most commonly kept ones as pets is the central bearded dragon. So at the very least, the central bearded is in the Australia pack instead. I think so. Most places don't specify which subspecies they've got, and there are not that many places that definitively keep the eastern subspecies, which is the dominant subspecies of common blue-tongued skink. Bit more sense if the game just had the species in general. Execution, it looks okay. I feel like it's what's one it's meant to be. No, it isn't. It's inaccurate, but still a bit meh. Alright, just stressing looking sounds there, and the darker, and I think it's to the burger shakes, but I think would make just above the burger shakes. Moving on to the Easter brown snake, the other Australian snake in the game, which although I guess it's dangerous than the common adder, so slightly more well-known snake, but it's even rarer encountered than the common death adder. Again, if fans developers, the game should have had King Cobra and Black Mamba. I think out of the two Australian snakes, it is the better one. It's in comparison or counterpart, brown coloration. The face is a bit weird looking, and it's a brown snake, not the most dangerous looking species out. Admittedly, I guess I'll put it into good since it's one of the very small amount of Australian animals in the game, and at least it's executed okay. And sadly, I think it's the the best Australian base game animal. So to put at the very bottom of good. Moving on to the Egyptian fruit bats. The walkthrough to Temple the Twilight pack. It does start being a very groundbreaking on the game. It's not only the first bat in the game, the first exhibit mammal in the game, the first flying animal in the game. It's also it's what introduced the walkthrough exhibit, which is sort of in between habitat and exhibit box to to customize the unique animation that you get. So, and it's which was I think a bit underutilized in the way. Since it could have been the best way to introduce flying birds into but as it stands, just got two birds, several different species of butterfly, and a sloth. So it's now the Egyptian fruit bat is the most commonly kept bat in captivity, so it's really the first bat in the game. But on the other hand, it's a bit of a missed opportunity for the to have the common vampire bats, which is a species that's more associated with Halloween and is the most iconic bat out there. In execution, sadly, I think the Egyptians aged poorly. So it's not only do I think the model is bad, it doesn't look that much like what its coloration. It's not as cute looking as it should roll up. The flying animations are very janky. You don't look up, just which mainly when you get a close-up look at Shifu bats. Now I get that it is the first flying animal in the game, but it's still so it counts for you, especially since I do think the other flying animals in the games have better and more natural animations. I'm not going to put it on the crack category since it is a groundbreaking animal, but because of how outdated it is, it's only going to have to be in the bad category and just interactions more, of course, more interactive than exhibit animals, not as interactive as the habitat animal. Moving on to the emu, which is an animal that I think should have been in the base game, considering it is a highly iconic Australian animal. It's the national bird there, and is extremely common in captivity. It's been at the very least in the Australia. It's I don't wait for a very long while for the emu to be added to the game. And in execution, it is another well done bird in the game. It's well account art, it's well detailed. It does have a couple of issues. I know there's it's more like a teenage emu rather than a fully grown one, so it's not as isn't as blue as it is what an adult fully grown emus are meant to be like. And for me personally, is these weird stubby I get that emus do have that feature, but I feel like they're not more prominent in the game than they are in real life. It just look weird and distracting to me. As it stands, I'm going to still put it in the great category. But so with the model, maybe I think around here. Maybe. So good. I'll put it here. To the Eurasia links. Now, most of the animals in the Europe Park are right next to each other. So we're talking about most of them. So the Eurasia links, which is a great choice for the Europe Park. So it is the largest and most widespread species of lynx, and it's very common sight in captivity in Europe. Now, what I think a lot of people do consider to be one of the best cats in the game, and I could definitely see why. It's one of the small amount of cats in the game that I don't think looks cartoonish. The face actually looks fairly accurate to what Lynx's face is meant to look like. My main issue with the Erasure Lynx would be the fact that it doesn't have that much variation to its appearance, since Erasure Lynx can be a bit of a inconsistent animal's appearance on the time of the season and which subspecies it is. I think as it stands, it mainly resembles how Eurasian lynx would look. It's like I think either the northern subspecies or the Carpathian subspecies, how they would look in the summer. well, so think more spring and autumn, since they more fluffy in the winter, but are more slimmer in the summer, and she do have the ratios that have a more uniform color scheme. That see that's prominent, and the Siberian Lynx is more of a light grey coloration. So I still get a bit in the greats category, but I think they're a bit low. So this will be where it goes. Moving on to the European badger. It's a very iconic resident of Europe, and it's one of the larger such would find in the UK. They're not too common in captivity, but they're still an iconic resident of Europe. So this is the animal that introduced the burrow to the game, which would make sense since it's notable for you burrowing in sets and spend a lot of time underground. I think the model looks okay. The texturing is a bit weird, I will say. It's really it really is more like with the base game animals and the DLC animals. I feel like I think because of how so much unique out of the game for introducing the burrow, and it's iconic European animal, so it's more I think more unique than the lemurs, but not as unique as the going to be honest, but this will be where it goes. Now we'll move on to the European fallow deer, which I know when it comes to Europe, who comes to the species of deer, I think we're wanting the red deer, with its I think being a more impressive looking species. The European fallow deer, I think it's still last pack. It's a very widespread, and although it's a lot more widespread than it should be in the wild, it's meant to be found in the Mediterranean parts of Europe, but it has been introduced to multiple different parts of the world, and they're extremely common in captivity, especially in Europe. To be in the game, and also allow to have a more standard species of deer. So as it stands, it's not that. So it's appear. To be honest, and European and I'm not too big into deer. I guess it's nice seeing them, seeing European fallow deer in the UK. They're not meant to be found here, but they have been introduced. It's one of the places that they've been introduced to. This is the deer that I see the most often outside of captivity. Well, I think I still see it often in captivity anyway. But still, I think a bit less interesting looking than. So I'm going to put it in the good category. It's not really a unique or versatile, so I have Mercury. I think it's still it's going to be better for different breeders in there. I guess I'll put it slightly higher than the Alpine goat. So having it in Europe section and have some fun to make a deer park. And finally, for this part is the European peacock, another butterfly in the grasslands pack. It's now it is an odd choice since what is the most iconic European leopard for its rude coloration and large spots. It's I'm not even sure it's present in captivity. This is a more temperate species, and the butterfly houses are more tropical. But of all the butterflies in the game, this would have to be my favorite one. I think I'm very familiar with the European peacock. It is a butterfly found in the UK and is iconic, and it's a very impressive looking species. It's just with the maroon coloration and the large spots, and it's also very accurate. I mean, the butterfly. But I think this was the most accurate, and despite its small size, it's a very well detailed model, and this. So if it's more at bit more for exhibitors being mid-grow between habitats and regular exhibits, it would have to be just between the exhibit animals that I put in the extra category and the habitat animals that I put on here. So there we go. I think I might actually hold up as a bit. So I'd actually put just a little bit higher up than the Africa Bay. So there we go. So that's first and worst, highest and lowest ranked animal. That still hasn't changed. But once we get for the next part, I'm going to move on to the Earth, which does even less. So it'll be a very short part. So to all of me.